Hello, friend, and welcome to the Sleepy Meteorologist. Tonight, we're drifting into the gentle, glistening world of soft rain, the kind that falls in hushed patterns against the window, or whispers over rooftops as you settle in for rest. This isn't about storms or thunderclaps. It's about the quiet kind of weather, the kind that soothes more than it stirs, where every drop is like a lullaby from the sky. Gentle rain has its own rhythm, its own science, its own sleepy story, and tonight we'll explore the most calming facts about it. From how raindrops form and fall, to the dreamy shapes of clouds that carry them, each chapter will unfold like a soft step, deeper into comfort. We'll follow the path of drizzle and mist, the shimmer of moonlight through rainy air, and the peaceful hush that only rain can bring. Maybe your day has been long. How's the sky looking where you are? If you enjoy these calming meteorology journeys, feel free to like or subscribe, but only if it feels right for you. For now, you can settle in. Snuggle deep beneath your blankets, and let the rain begin to fall. Let's begin. The beginning of gentle rain is never loud. There's no announcement, no sudden rush, just a hush, so soft it might be mistaken for silence. Perhaps you notice it first on the leaves outside your window. A faint tapping sound, like 1,000 tiny fingertips brushing across the world. Or maybe it appears on the glass, a dot, then two, like little silver beads from the sky, as if the clouds themselves have begun to exhale. But before that first drop falls, something quiet has already begun. High above, in the invisible architecture of the atmosphere, air is rising, slowly, patiently. Warm, moist air from the surface begins its upward journey, carried by gentle currents. There is no force here, no storm, no swirl, just a slow lift into cooler altitudes. As the air ascends, it begins to cool, and in that cooling, a transformation begins. The water vapor that was once hidden, completely invisible, starts to gather. Tiny particles in the air offer a surface, and the vapor condenses into the earliest traces of cloud. These clouds don't shout their arrival. They don't tower or churn. They simply begin to form, like breath on a mirror. This is the prelude to rain, and in that quiet build-up, the atmosphere finds balance. The air, now cooler, can no longer hold all its moisture, and so, drop by drop, the sky lets go. At first, it may be too light to notice. The rain that falls in these early moments might be so fine it clings to spiderwebs and coats windows with a shimmer. But still, it falls, softly, persistently, gently. It's a process rooted in temperature and dew point, in pressure and moisture content. But here, we'll speak of it as a rhythm, a calm unfolding of sky into sound. Gentle rain is not born of drama. It's born of equilibrium, the kind of balance that forms when warm and cool layers meet with mutual softness, when the air isn't in a hurry, when the world is allowed to breathe and settle, and then simply release. Sometimes the rain begins at night. There's something magical about that, how the darkness holds the rain like a lullaby, how you can lie beneath the covers, listening as the first drops kiss the rooftop in a regular rhythm, like a song with no beginning and no end. Other times, it begins in the early morning, just before light. The birds are quiet, the trees are still, and the first drops fall into a world not yet awake. The gentle patter on sidewalks, on fields, on windows. It's the earth being tucked in again, just as it starts to stir. This is how rain begins, not with force, but with grace, with softness, with the atmosphere offering its moisture not all at once, but tenderly. You may not even notice the moment the first drop falls, but your body does. It slows, it exhales, it listens, because rain, in its gentlest form, invites rest. And the beginning of that rest is here. Let it fall. Let it lull. Let it begin. Not all clouds bring thunder. Some float low across the sky with the softness of breath. Their edges are not sharp, their shapes not dramatic. They do not rise in towering columns or swirl with intensity. Instead, they spread like quiet blankets over the landscape, steady, muted, full of subtle promise. These are the clouds that carry gentle rain. Among them, stratus and nimbostratus are the most peaceful of carriers. Stratus clouds form as wide, uniform sheets, often stretching from horizon to horizon. They don't billow upward like cumulus, nor do they spiral like storm systems. Instead, they simply hover, as if lying down across the sky. Nimbostratus clouds are their rain-bearing cousins, moisture-laden and grey, thick enough to dim the sun, but never so dark as to frighten. When nimbostratus clouds arrive, they don't bring lightning or claps of thunder. They bring softness, a steady descent of droplets, often so light they blur the world into watercolour. And that's what sets them apart, their quietness. The rain they give is not intense, but patient. It lasts longer, often stretching over many hours or even days. No flashes, no gusts. Just a consistent curtain of rain, perfect for resting, for reading, for closing your eyes and listening. Meteorologically, these clouds form when warm, moist air slowly rises over a broader region, often ahead of a warm front. The lift is smooth, not turbulent. And as the air cools and condenses, these clouds take shape, layered, soft, and ready to release their rain gently over time. You might recognize them on overcast days, the kind that feel cozy rather than gloomy. When the world is washed in greys and soft blues, and sounds seem quieter than usual. On days like these, the world itself slows down. Footsteps are softened, leaves glisten, pavement grows darker with moisture, reflecting faint light from above. And then the rain begins, not in sudden showers, but in a fine drizzle or soft fall, like a whisper on the skin. These clouds don't demand attention, they invite it. When you walk beneath them, you're not dodging puddles in a rush. You're strolling, hood up, shoulders relaxed, watching droplets dance on puddles, listening to the way rain filters through trees. They're the clouds that tuck in a city at night, the ones that accompany quiet afternoons by the window, the ones that gently coat the world in silver softness. They weep, not from sorrow, but from fullness, a fullness of moisture, a fullness of sky, a fullness that becomes rain. And if you ever lie in bed, listening to rain that never roars, just patters, you're likely hearing the voice of nimbostratus. Let it continue. Let the clouds release what they hold. Let the sky soothe you, drop by drop. A gentle raindrop is not shaped like a teardrop, despite what cartoons and stories might suggest. Instead, it begins as something simpler, round, like a tiny sphere suspended in the sky. And as it begins its descent, this shape changes, ever so slightly, into something more delicate. Flattened at the base, curved across the top, it takes on the form of a shimmering coin, smooth, soft-edged, carried not just by gravity, but by the air through which it falls. Tonight, let's follow one of those raindrops on its peaceful journey from cloud to ground. It begins high above us, born from vapor, water that was once invisible, now gathered into droplets too small to see. But as those droplets merge and grow, Held together by a force called surface tension, they begin to take shape. Surface tension is what gives the drop its form, a gentle pressure from within, pulling inward, trying to keep the droplet perfectly round. But gravity calls to it. As the droplet grows heavier, gravity begins to pull it downward. And the moment it begins to fall, the air pushes back. Not harshly, not violently, just enough to press against its underside. And in that quiet resistance, the raindrop flattens, just, little. The result is a drop that isn't a perfect sphere, and certainly not a teardrop, but something in between, a round top and a slightly flattened base. It's this balance between gravity pulling down and air pushing up that creates the shape of gentle rain. Smaller droplets fall more slowly and remain nearly spherical, drifting softly like pearls through the air. Larger droplets begin to flatten more noticeably, sometimes wobbling slightly as they descend. But when the rain is gentle, the droplets remain small enough that their shape holds steady and calm. No tumbling, no splashing, just a quiet fall, and they don't fall as fast as you might imagine. A typical gentle raindrop might drift toward the ground at only a few feet per second. So slow, in fact, that you can sometimes watch them hang in the air for a moment, as if deciding when to land. Their descent isn't hurried, it's graceful, poised, as if the sky is letting them go with care. And when they reach the earth, on a leaf, a window pane, or the open palm of your hand, they arrive with a softness that feels kind. Raindrops also reflect light in beautiful ways. Because of their curved surfaces, they can shimmer slightly under street lamps or capture a bit of moonlight. Even in darkness they shine, tiny prisms falling from the clouds. In that way, every gentle raindrop becomes its own little lens, a quiet traveller, a piece of cloud journeying to earth, carrying the memory of sky. So, the next time you feel a drop land softly on your skin, you'll know it isn't a teardrop, but a perfect little balance between forces, not shaped by sadness, but by science and serenity. Let it fall, let it drift, let it carry you gently towards sleep. Drizzle is one of the quietest forms of rain. It doesn't shout or pour. It doesn't splash across windows or bounce on rooftops. Instead, it floats, barely falling at all. The droplets are so small, so weightless. They seem to hover in the air like a fine mist. Not quite rain, not quite fog, something in between. Tonight, we'll rest beneath that softness inside the world of drizzle. Drizzle begins in clouds that are low and gentle, usually stratus or nimbostratus. These clouds don't climb high into the atmosphere like thunderheads. They lie close to the ground, spreading wide, their bellies full of tiny, delicate moisture. Within them, condensation occurs slowly. The droplets that form are minuscule, less than 0.5 millimeter across. Too small to fall with speed, too light to make a sound, and so they drift. Drizzle is a quiet rain. It doesn't race to the ground. Instead, it glides, carried just as much by breeze as by gravity. On windless days, it can almost appear suspended in the air, like weather, standing still. You may notice it first by how it coats things, not with splashes, but with a sheen. Pavement grows darker, not from puddles, but from a fine gloss of moisture. Leaves take on a silvery shine. Hair and fabric become damp, slowly, like a whisper settling over them. Meteorologists define drizzle not just by droplet size, but by how it behaves. It doesn't fall in streaks like rain. It mists. It blurs the air. It turns landscapes into soft focus, where lights glow through the moisture like distant lanterns. It's more likely to happen in cooler conditions, especially in the early morning or just before dusk. Times when the world already feels hushed, and perhaps that's what makes drizzle so sleep-friendly. There's something deeply calming about walking through drizzle, or simply watching it from indoors. It doesn't demand a jacket, just a hood or a scarf. It doesn't interrupt your thoughts, it quiets them. Each droplet feels like a sigh from the clouds, long and slow and content. Drizzle also has a way of dimming the world, not darkening it, but softening the contrast. Sounds become muffled, edges blur, everything feels closer and more dreamlike. And in that dreamlike stillness, the mind begins to rest. No rush, no sharpness, just a slow, ambient fall. Drizzle doesn't always lead to rain. Sometimes it stays just as it is, light, misty, and suspended. Other times, it's the beginning, a gentle overture before the rain deepens. But in either case, its presence is never harsh. It's the whisper before the song, the breath before the sleep. So, if you find yourself surrounded by drizzle, don't hurry to escape it. Let it rest on your skin. Let it coat the leaves and windows. Let it remind you how slow and beautiful weather can be. And let it guide you gently towards stillness. Before a single drop of rain reaches the ground, it must pass through a staircase of air. Layer upon layer, each with its own character, some warm, some cool, some still, and some whispering with wind. The path from cloud to earth is not straight. It is shaped by temperature, texture, and time. Let's follow one gentle raindrop as it begins this quiet descent. It forms high above, cradled within a soft, grey cloud, perhaps a nimbostratus, drifting low over a quiet landscape. Inside this cloud, the air is moist and cool. Vapor has gathered around tiny particles, dust, sea salt, or even pollen, clinging like a memory forming around a whisper. The droplet grows slowly, nurtured by collisions with smaller droplets around it, held together by surface tension. Eventually, it becomes just heavy enough to fall, but its journey has only just begun. The air beneath the cloud is not one uniform body. It is layered, like invisible blankets of varying warmth and motion. As the raindrop begins to fall, it enters the first layer, perhaps a band of cool, stable air. In this space, its speed remains steady. The droplet glides, cushioned by air resistance, losing no part of itself, only drifting. Then it reaches a warmer layer. Warm air can hold more moisture. It can sometimes slow the drop's cooling, or even begin to evaporate its edges. The droplet shrinks just a little. This process, known as partial evaporation, doesn't cause the drop to vanish. It only changes its size, its shape, its rhythm. It continues to fall, but more delicately now, as if weighing each step. Further down, it may meet a layer of wind. Some winds swirl gently in different directions. A light downdraft might urge the drop along, while a crosswind may nudge it sideways. The drop doesn't fall in a perfect line. It dances slightly, an elegant drift through shifting currents. If it could speak, perhaps it would say it is being guided, not pushed. Sometimes the drop encounters cooler air once again, especially near the surface. This can help preserve its form, allowing it to fall fully, intact and glistening, until it kisses the ground. But on some days, if the layers are warm and dry, the drop may not survive the journey. It may fade into vapor before it ever lands, joining the air once more, unseen but still present. This is called virga, rain that falls from a cloud but evaporates before reaching the ground. You might see it from a distance, streaks hanging from the sky like ghostly curtains, vanishing before they touch the earth. And yet, when the layers are just right, balanced, moist, gentle, the raindrop completes its journey. It lands softly on a leaf, a rooftop, a quiet stretch of earth. That single moment of contact is the result of countless atmospheric decisions. Each layer helped shape it. Each shift in temperature and humidity, each breeze and stillness, all played their part. It's easy to imagine rain simply falling. But when you listen closely, when you drift into the story behind it, you'll find that every drop is a traveler, a wanderer through invisible worlds, a quiet visitor passing through layers of air before arriving at your window or your dreams. Let it fall. Let the layers guide it. Let it carry you gently to sleep. There's something special about the way rain smells. Not all rain, but the gentle kind, the kind that arrives softly, coating the earth with a fine shimmer, awakening scents that feel older than memory. You may have noticed it, that earthy, sweet aroma that rises just before or just after a soft rain begins. It's calming, grounding, almost dreamlike. Tonight, we'll explore that scent. The fragrance of rain has a name. It's called petrichor, a word as soft as the feeling it describes. Coined in the 1960s by two Australian researchers, petrichor refers to the distinct scent released when rain falls on dry earth. But this scent has much older origins, written into the chemistry of the soil, the rocks, the roots. When the air is dry, certain plant oils settle into the earth. Bacteria, known as actinomycetes, produce a compound called geosmin, a molecule that smells unmistakably of fresh soil. And when raindrops begin to fall, they hit the ground and trap tiny bubbles of air beneath them. These bubbles rise, burst, and carry geosmin into the air, where our noses catch the signal. Just 1 part in a trillion is enough for us to notice. It's one of the most sensitive responses we have, our connection to rain encoded deep in our senses. And then there's ozone, another piece of the rain scent puzzle. When lightning flashes or air masses shift high in the atmosphere, ozone molecules are created. They're drawn downward, especially as rain begins to fall. The smell is sharper than petrichor, but still gentle. It adds a coolness to the air, a crisp, just cleansed note that often signals a storm far off, or rain just beginning. In gentle rains, these scents blend softly, earthy, airy, and pure. They don't overwhelm. They emerge in waves. One moment, you smell damp stone. The next, moss and roots. Sometimes, rain brings out the scent of pavement after warmth, or fallen leaves in autumn. Every surface has its own voice when touched by rain. And in that way, gentle rain becomes a storyteller. Each drop releases a memory, not yours, but the Earth's. Memories of dry days, of waiting, of rest. The land responds not with sound, but with scent. And in return, you inhale not just moisture, but the quiet record of time. That's why so many people feel a deep calm when rain begins. It's not just the sound, it's the smell, the soft chemistry that speaks to something older, something elemental. Aromas rise, memories stir, breathing slows, and rain, so gentle, becomes more than water. It becomes presence, a reminder that you are part of something vast, something quiet, something that listens and breathes with you. So the next time rain falls, take a slow breath. Let petrichor find you. Let the scent settle over your thoughts like a blanket. And let the rain tell its story, one drop at a time. Sometimes you can see it falling, but never feel it. Long, delicate streaks reaching down from a cloud, threads of moisture stretching toward the earth. only to vanish before they arrive. No droplets on your skin, no dampness on the ground, just the sight of rain that never lands. This is virga, a phenomenon as beautiful as it is elusive. The word itself sounds soft, like the brushing of fabric through air. It comes from Latin, meaning branch or streak. And that's what it looks like. Wisps of silver or grey, trailing downward from clouds, fading as they fall, as if the sky is exhaling dreams that dissolve midair. Virga occurs when rain forms in a cloud just like any other rainfall. Inside that cloud, droplets gather and grow until they become heavy enough to fall. But as they descend, they pass through a layer of dry air that is thirsty, unsaturated, and ready to reclaim the moisture before it touches the ground. The droplets begin to evaporate, quietly, gradually, and the rain disappears. It's still there for a while, visible to the eye, painting soft strokes beneath the cloud. But by the time it reaches the lower atmosphere, it has turned to vapor once more, unfelt, unsplashing, unseen by anything except those who happen to look up. Meteorologically, virga is a sign of contrast between the moist upper layers where clouds form and the dry lower layers near the surface. It often occurs in desert regions or on warm, windy days when the surface air has little humidity. But it can happen anywhere, especially where the atmosphere is layered and shifting. You might see it at sunset, when the slanting light turns each streak of virga into a ribbon of pink or gold. It lingers there, suspended like a dream, then fades away, gently, like a sigh. Virga doesn't make a sound. It doesn't wet the soil or pool on rooftops, but its presence is no less real. In many ways, it's a symbol of the atmosphere's quiet complexities, a reminder that not everything we see completes its journey, that sometimes the sky lets go of something, only for it to return to invisibility before we can touch it. And still, it falls. Still, it tries. Virga may be unfulfilled rain, but it is not empty. It tells a story of transition, of change, of movement that doesn't need to end with arrival. It reminds us that the atmosphere is full of almosts, raindrops that nearly made it, clouds that nearly cried, winds that nearly turned. And in those almosts, there is poetry. So the next time you see those fading streaks beneath a distant cloud, pause for a moment. Watch the way they reach down, then let go. Listen for the silence they carry, and know that even without touching the ground, they leave behind a softness in the air and a calmness in the soul. Let the unseen rain fall. Let it drift and vanish. Let it remind you that not all gifts from the sky must be held to be felt. Not all rain is loud. Some arrives like a whisper. No thunder, no drumming, just the softest patter. A rhythmic hush against leaves, rooftops, and window panes. It doesn't startle. It soothes. It doesn't call for attention. It offers comfort. This is the sound of gentle rain, and tonight we'll listen closely. The acoustics of rain are shaped by where it falls. A droplet striking a tin roof sounds sharp and metallic. On a forest floor, the sound is muted and lush. On glass, it's a soft tap. On water, it becomes a ripple, a splash, then a blending. Each sound is shaped by size, speed, and surface. Gentle rain, with its smaller droplets and slower descent, creates a quieter landscape. The sounds it makes are not isolated. They blend into each other. Dozens of tiny taps per second, layered and continuous. This is what gives rain its white noise quality. A steady stream of soft, random sounds with no jarring interruptions. White noise is naturally calming to the human brain. It masks sudden sounds, soothes the nervous system, and promotes rest. In sleep studies, rain recordings are among the most effective at helping people drift into slumber. They offer a sense of enclosure, like being wrapped in an invisible blanket of sound. There's also an evolutionary reason. Our ancestors slept more safely during rain. The falling water masked distant threats. It meant predators were less active, less able to stalk through the underbrush. Rain was a signal of pause, of safety. That association still lingers deep in our subconscious. When we hear gentle rain, part of us relaxes instinctively. The brain's auditory centers respond with calmness. Heart rate slows, muscles unclench, breathing deepens, and then the mind begins to wander. Perhaps you've noticed how rain sound helps your thoughts soften, how it blurs the edges of time, how it becomes not just background noise, but a companion, a lullaby for grown-ups, a soundscape of softness. Some researchers describe the sound of gentle rain as a form of auditory texture. It fills space not with melody, but with movement. It's non-repeating, yet patterned, familiar, yet ever-changing, like a song that never needs to end. You might hear it differently depending on where you are. In a car, it might tap lightly on the roof, creating a rhythmic cocooned quiet. In a forest, it might fall in layers, on the canopy, on branches, on moss. In a city, it might blend with distant traffic, becoming a soft blur of movement and stillness combined. And indoors, under covers, it becomes something else entirely. It becomes the soundtrack of sleep. So tonight, listen to the gentle percussion of rain against the world, to the way it makes everything feel closer, warmer, safer. Let its rhythm match your breath. Let it echo your heartbeat. Let it be a lullaby from the sky, soft, steady, and endlessly kind. Let it fall. Let it hum. Let it carry you into the hush of night. There's something quietly magical about rain that falls after dark. It doesn't arrive with a roar. It doesn't flash or crash. Instead, it begins with a whisper, an almost imperceptible sound. A soft tapping on the window pane, a hush moving across the rooftops. It might wake you briefly, not with alarm, but with a kind of peace. And if it's gentle enough, it might lull you back to sleep before you even realize it began. Tonight, we'll wander through the world of nighttime rain, where light fades, the air cools, and the sky leans closer. After sunset, the atmosphere begins to shift. The sun's heat slips away, and with it, the energy that drives larger storms. What remains is calm. Winds settle, temperatures fall, the surface of the earth cools, and that cooling reaches up into the lower layers of the atmosphere, encouraging condensation in the most delicate way. This is when gentle rain often finds its moment. Cooler air is denser, slower, and less chaotic. It holds less moisture overall, but what it does hold tends to be more stable, less turbulent, less prone to sudden shifts. When clouds drift overhead on such nights, they do so steadily, and if they carry rain, it falls slowly, steadily, like breath released after a long day. You might notice how streetlights respond to rain at night. The light catches each droplet, scattering softly, creating halos in the mist. Raindrops shimmer in golden arcs beneath lampposts. Puddles glow with reflections, windows, trees, soft outlines of homes, all caught in quiet motion. This play of light and water is unique to nighttime. There's no glare, no brightness, just dim illuminations filtered through rain, like lanterns behind gauze. Even distant headlights become dreamy, blurred and glowing through the veil of falling water. Indoors, it's even more comforting. A window glows from within. Outside, the rain murmurs gently. Curtains stir. The rhythm of droplets becomes a cradle song for the evening, blending perfectly with the hush of twilight and the deepening quiet of night. Some people describe nighttime rain as more intimate. It wraps the world in stillness. It narrows your focus to the present, the room you're in, the breath you're taking, the bed beneath you. It blurs everything else, not with forgetfulness, but with peace. Meteorologically, the nocturnal boundary layer, the part of the atmosphere closest to the surface, becomes more stable at night. Winds decouple from the ground. Air masses layer gently. The ingredients for soft, lingering rain come together. Calm winds, steady lift, ample humidity, and cool air to maintain it. These conditions are perfect for the kind of showers that last hours, but never overwhelm. They fall like pages turning in a book, quietly, rhythmically, without end. And if you're awake while they fall, you may find yourself listening, not just to the sound, but to the feeling, the way the world slows down, the way the rain creates a little shelter around your space, the way time seems to stretch and soften. So tonight, if gentle rain finds you in the dark, let it be your companion. Let it blur the lights. Let it hush the world. Let it carry you gently into sleep. Not all places receive rain in equal measure. Some lie in the path of moisture-laden winds, where clouds gather and release their softness freely. Others, just beyond a ridge or slope, remain dry, shielded by geography. This delicate contrast is known as a rain shadow, a quiet zone where gentle rain rarely falls, not because the sky is unwilling, but because the land itself creates shelter from the sky's offerings. Tonight, we'll drift through these landscapes where softness arrives and where it sometimes cannot. Imagine a mountain range standing tall against incoming air. As moist air approaches the windward side, the side facing the wind, it is forced to rise. And as it rises, it cools. Cooling leads to condensation, and clouds begin to form. These clouds often produce precipitation, sometimes heavy, sometimes soft and lingering. Gentle rain falls here often, especially when warm maritime air flows steadily inland. The landscape might be lush, blanketed in forests or meadows that glisten in the rain. Valleys along this side are cradled in moisture, wrapped in mists, kissed regularly by calming drizzle. But once the air passes over the mountain's crest, something changes. Having lost much of its moisture, the air descends along the leeward side, warmer now, drier, and less able to support clouds. This descending air compresses and warms, making it difficult for new precipitation to form. The result is a rain shadow, a region noticeably drier than the landscape just over the ridge. These areas are not lifeless. They are simply different, quieter, more spacious, sometimes desert-like, other times full of wind-swept plains or gentle hills. The rain that does fall here is rare and often welcomed with reverence. Rain shadows teach us something about the quiet precision of nature, how a single mountain can shift the pattern of rainfall for miles, how valleys and slopes can cradle rain or turn it away, how the shape of the earth beneath the sky decides where softness will land. And yet, even within these shadows, rain still finds a way, eventually. Moisture may wrap around the base of a peak, slipping into low places and lingering there. Valleys become rain pockets, where local conditions allow clouds to gather, even within otherwise dry regions. Gentle showers might pool between ridges, drawn to lower pressures or aided by subtle shifts in wind. These soft showers feel rare and perhaps more magical for it. When gentle rain does fall in a rain-shadowed valley, it's like a secret being told, a hush that arrives unexpectedly, a gift from the sky that slipped through a crack in the pattern. And when it happens, the land drinks slowly, plants lift their leaves, dust settles, and the air becomes thick with scent and softness, even if only for a little while. So whether you're in the path of the rain or tucked away behind a hill, know that the atmosphere remembers you, that even in the quietest corners, softness finds its way. Let the mountains shape the story. Let the valleys hold the calm. Let the rain arrive where it can. Not all rain falls from towering storms. Some comes from clouds that don't reach high at all, clouds that stretch wide instead, like blankets across the sky. Their rainfall doesn't roar or race. It settles slowly, evenly, like a lullaby whispered across the landscape. Tonight, we'll rest beneath those layered clouds and discover how the atmosphere creates such patient, steady rain. This type of cloud structure is common near warm fronts, boundaries where warm, moist air glides gently over cooler, denser air, already settled near the ground. Unlike cold fronts, which can push and tumble air upward quickly, warm fronts move with calm persistence. They don't shove, they slide. They don't surge, they flow. As warm air slowly ascends over the cooler layer, it begins to cool, and with that cooling comes condensation. Layer by layer, clouds begin to form. First, high, thin cirrus, then thicker altostratus, and finally, closer to the ground, the gentle nimbostratus clouds that give us the softest kinds of rain. These clouds don't tower, they don't swirl, they form in sheets, wide and calm, spreading their moisture across the sky with a quiet consistency. From these layered clouds, the rain falls in a way that feels balanced. It's not sudden. It doesn't come and go in minutes. Instead, it lasts, sometimes for hours, sometimes for an entire day or more. A slow and even descent, each droplet falling not because of force, but because of time. Layered rain is often called stratiform precipitation, named after the very clouds that create it. It lacks the vertical updrafts of thunderstorms. It doesn't produce intense downdrafts or lightning. Instead, it's a slow settling of moisture from a sky that's full, but never hurried. And it's precisely this lack of urgency that makes it so comforting. When rain falls from these layered clouds, the world feels wrapped in calm. The wind may be still, the light may be diffused. Everything feels quieter, as if the atmosphere itself is speaking softly, asking us to slow down. Warm fronts often stretch for hundreds of miles, bringing with them bands of gentle precipitation that can pass over entire regions in a slow, graceful sweep. Unlike the quick bursts of a storm, this rain has endurance. It doesn't shout for attention, it simply continues. And when you're beneath it, maybe by a window, or walking with an umbrella, or simply lying in bed, you can feel the difference. This isn't weather that interrupts, it's weather that accompanies. The clouds above don't need to rise high to bring rain. They only need to hold moisture and let it go, softly, quietly. So the next time you find yourself beneath an overcast sky that seems to stretch endlessly in every direction, and you hear the rain begin, not with a crash, but with a sigh, you'll know what kind of rain it is. Layered, patient, kind. Let it fall in sheets. Let it rest upon the earth. Let it remind you that not all power is loud. Some of it falls gently. Not all rain is meant to stay. Sometimes it arrives unannounced, just a soft burst of moisture drifting through, no build-up, no warning. And just as it comes, it fades, a passing visitor from the sky. Tonight, we'll drift with one of these brief companions, the passing shower, and explore why these gentle interruptions can feel so peaceful. A passing shower is often the result of subtle shifts in the atmosphere, when small pockets of moist air rise, condense, and produce rain over a short span of time. These showers don't come from large, organized systems. They form independently, like quiet travelers moving through. They're common in transitional moments between air masses, near coastlines, or late in the day when surface heating begins to wane. They're not aggressive. They form gently, rain gently, and then dissolve back into the air. From a meteorological view, they are often tied to weak convection, not the kind that builds thunderstorms, but the kind that gently lifts air upward just enough to cool it, to form a small patch of cloud, and to release a few minutes of rainfall. Sometimes they pass overhead in just 5 or 10 minutes. Sometimes they last a little longer, but never enough to soak the day. You may notice them on radar, those small, drifting patches of green that float across the map like watercolor spots. They're isolated, barely organized, and often short-lived. Meteorologists refer to them as showery precipitation, brief, localized, and often scattered. But despite their brevity, they can be beautiful. They might cool the air on a warm afternoon. They might freshen the scent of pavement, or awaken the smell of nearby flowers. They might draw small ripples across a still lake, or leave beads of water on your sleeve before the sun returns. And in their quiet coming and going, they offer a sense of softness. They don't last long enough to weigh the world down. They visit and then they go. They are weather at its most polite. In coastal areas or on humid mornings, these passing showers can drift inland like slow-moving whispers, especially where light breezes guide them. They're not bound by the boundaries of storms. They move freely, lightly, almost playfully. And when you see one coming, you don't need to run. You can pause. Watch the clouds darken slightly. Feel the first few drops. Listen as they land gently, and then disappear again. Passing showers ask for no preparation, just presence. A moment to step outside and feel the atmosphere's lightest touch. And once they've moved on, they often leave the air softer, the light clearer, and the world just a little quieter. So, let them pass. Let them visit. Let them remind you that sometimes beauty is brief, and that even fleeting things can bring calm. Rain doesn't always fall where it's expected. In some corners of the world, where dryness dominates, where skies stay clear for months on end, where clouds are rare and fleeting, the rain that does come arrives like a secret, a blessing, a moment of stillness broken only by the hush of water returning to the land. Tonight, we'll travel to those quietest places, deserts, tundras, and high plateaus where gentle rain becomes something rare and deeply cherished. In the desert, rain is an infrequent guest. Places like the Atacama, the Sahara, or the Sonoran Desert can go weeks, even years, with barely a drop. The sun dominates the day, and at night, the air cools quickly, but the skies remain vast and empty. And then, one day, the clouds drift in, not loud or wild, just a thin overcast, a hush, and it begins to rain. Not a downpour, not a storm, but a gentle fall, soft and slow, so rare that even the smallest shower can feel sacred. The sand darkens, the air thickens with scent, damp stone, warm earth, and the awakening of life. Desert plants, waiting patiently for months, open tiny blooms. Seeds that have slept beneath the surface begin to stir, and the animals pause, breathe, and drink. Even the ground responds quietly. In dry places, the soil is so parched that it sometimes resists the rain at first. Droplets bead and sit atop the dust, as if unsure whether they're allowed to stay. Then, slowly, the earth begins to absorb them. The land drinks deeply, and for a few brief hours or days, the desert remembers moisture. In the tundra, rain is just as precious. Here, the air is cold, the ground frozen for much of the year. Precipitation usually comes as snow, but in the quiet weeks of spring and early summer, soft rain can fall, misty and patient, coating moss, lichen, and low-lying plants. The silence of these places makes the rain even softer, like a lullaby whispered into snow. Every drop lingers. Nothing rushes in these lands. The air holds its breath. Pools form in hollows, reflecting the pale sky. And though there are few trees, the grasses shimmer, trembling slightly beneath the fall. High plateaus too, places like the Tibetan Plateau or the Andes, experience rain in a different way. At altitude, the air is thinner, the clouds closer, and the sunlight softer. When rain comes here, it feels more like a veil than a fall. It glides downward slowly, more like mist or fine drizzle, brushing across stone and meadow like paint on canvas. These places, deserts, tundras, plateaus, are not known for storms. They are not soaked in water, but when they receive rain, they hold it carefully. Each drop is a guest, each puddle is a poem, and for those who live in these quiet lands, the sound of gentle rain is not taken for granted. It is a gift, a moment, a reminder that even the sky, in its vast restraint, can be moved to softness. So wherever you are, even if the land around you is dry or still, know that the rain remembers, and when it comes slowly, gently, and with care. Let it fall in silence. Let it soften the hardest places. Let the quietest lands bloom again. Sometimes rain doesn't fall at all. It hovers, it lingers, it blurs the air around you into softness, like a cloud come down to rest upon the earth. This is mist, rain's closest cousin. A weather so fine, so subtle, it feels less like droplets and more like breath. Tonight, we'll drift into that mist, into the space where rain begins, or where it ends, with a quiet veil of suspended moisture. Mist forms when warm, moist air cools rapidly near the ground. As the temperature drops, the air reaches its dew point, the moment when it can no longer hold all its water vapor. But rather than condensing into falling droplets, the moisture becomes suspended in the air itself, floating, clinging gently to everything it touches. Each particle of mist is a tiny droplet, far smaller than a raindrop, and far too light to fall. Instead, they drift together, creating a light fog that's just dense enough to soften the world, but thin enough to let you see through it. You may have walked through mist without even realizing it. It doesn't splash, it doesn't patter, but it moistens your hair, dampens your jacket, and leaves windows glazed in silver. It catches the light, especially at night, creating glowing halos around lamps and headlamps, turning ordinary streets into quiet dreamscapes. Mist often appears during the same conditions that create gentle rain. After a shower ends, as the air cools and stabilizes, leftover moisture may settle into mist. Or, just before a light rain begins, you might first feel the touch of mist, like the atmosphere preparing itself to release something more. Sometimes, gentle rain fades into mist gradually. The drops become smaller, softer, until they no longer fall, but simply float. And in that transformation, the line between air and water becomes blurred. The landscape reacts slowly. Trees appear slightly out of focus, their edges wrapped in softness. Fields stretch away into fog. Hills seem farther than they are, hidden behind veils of vapor. The world feels quieter in mist, not because sound stops, but because it seems to travel differently, gently absorbed by the tiny droplets in the air. There's no urgency in mist. It doesn't rush to fall. It doesn't demand shelter. It's meant to be walked through, moved with, shared. And for those who linger within it, mist offers something rare, an intimacy with the atmosphere. You are not watching the weather from afar. You are inside it, breathing it, wrapped in it. Meteorologists classify mist as a form of suspended precipitation, a bridge between cloud and rain. It's not fog, which is denser. It's not rain, which falls. It's something in between, a presence, a mood, and perhaps that's what makes mist so soothing. It slows us down. It softens what we see. It invites us to pause and to feel the sky all around us, not as something above, but as something we're already inside of. So when you step into mist, whether before a gentle rain or after one, know that you're moving through the breath of the earth, a pause between drops, a memory of rain. Let it settle. Let it blur the edges. Let the world dissolve into softness. When night settles in and the world grows quiet, something beautiful happens. Two forms of moisture meet without ever touching. One falls from above, the other rises from below. Together, they form a soft conversation between sky and earth. Tonight, we'll wander into the gentle companionship of dew and drizzle, two quiet guests of the nighttime hours. Dew does not fall like rain. It forms. As the sun sets and the ground releases its warmth into the air, surfaces like blades of grass, flower petals, rooftops, and leaves begin to cool. If the night air is humid, filled with invisible water vapor, that vapor starts to condense when it touches these cooler surfaces. Slowly, silently, beads of water begin to appear. Not dropped, not blown, simply formed, emerging from the meeting of temperature and touch. This is dew, born not from clouds, but from stillness. It's the earth's own way of gathering moisture. Each droplet is like a memory of the day's warmth, captured and cooled into form. At the same time, above this quiet condensation, the atmosphere may be offering its own soft addition, drizzle. Light rain, too gentle to splash. Droplets so small, they float more than fall. Sometimes, it's hard to tell where the drizzle ends and the mist begins. It's as if the sky is breathing downward, while the ground breathes upward. And in that moment, something magical occurs. From the soil to the sky, moisture is moving both ways. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It's a cycle of calm, dew collecting below, drizzle drifting above. Two expressions of humidity, two responses to temperature, two acts of tenderness in a world already asleep. Meteorologically, dew forms when surface temperatures fall below the dew point, the temperature at which air can no longer hold its moisture. Meanwhile, drizzle occurs when clouds are full but lack the strong vertical motion that causes heavier rain. These are both signs of a stable, tranquil atmosphere. No storms, no gusts, just layers of calm air and gentle saturation. You might experience this on a quiet morning, stepping outside to feel the dampness underfoot, while the faintest droplets still drift through the air. Or late at night, when streetlights glow softly against drizzle, and the grass at your feet glistens, already damp with dew. These companions, dew and drizzle, don't rush. They remind us that not all change is grand. Some of it happens slowly, drop by drop. They invite us to notice the small things, the rounded shimmer on a leaf's edge, the slow descent of a droplet onto a window pane, the delicate balance between warmth and coolness that creates them both. And they ask nothing in return, only that we breathe with them, that we move gently through the world as they do. So, tonight, as you rest, imagine the earth and sky exchanging quiet notes of moisture, one reaching up, the other drifting down, a soft, shared ritual under the veil of night. Let them meet in stillness. Let them gather in grace. Let dew and drizzle cradle the sleeping world. Rain doesn't always fall evenly. Sometimes it comes in patterns, soft bursts and gentle pauses. A few drops, then silence, then a renewed patter against the roof. Like a lullaby with no chorus, no verses, just rhythm. Tonight, we'll listen to the shifting tempo of rainfall, how it moves, how it varies, and how its ever-changing rhythm can lull the senses into rest. To the casual ear, gentle rain might seem uniform, like a steady hush. But if you listen more closely, you'll notice how it flows in waves. Rain has phrasing, much like music. There are quiet moments between the more active ones. There are intervals, repeats, surprises, a drop here, a burst there, then a soft return to calm. These changes come from the structure of clouds. Inside the sky, rain forms in pockets. Some areas of the cloud are more saturated, others slightly drier. As these sections pass overhead, the rainfall below responds. One moment, the cloud offers more droplets. The next, fewer. It's a kind of meteorological rhythm, born not of beats, but of moisture and motion. Even in a gentle shower, you might hear this pattern. Tap, tap, tap. Pause, then a fuller patter, like footsteps on a roof, or fingers on a drum. Not mechanical, not predictable, but flowing, natural, like breath. Meteorologists study this using rainfall rate, a measure of how much rain falls over time. It's often calculated in millimeters per hour, but while the numbers help with forecasts, the experience of rainfall goes beyond data. It lives in the senses. When rainfall is light, just a few millimeters an hour, it creates that familiar white noise, a sound that smooths the edges of thought, one that encourages the mind to drift. It masks sharper sounds, slows the heart rate, and lowers stress. And when the pattern of rainfall fluctuates slightly, the experience becomes even more soothing. The mind notices the change, then lets go. In some cultures, gentle rain is used intentionally for sleep, recorded, looped, played softly through speakers. It's one of nature's original lullabies. You might notice, too, how different surfaces respond. On leaves, rain ticks softly, one drop at a time. On rooftops, it rolls and echoes. On open water, it creates circles, each one expanding, overlapping, fading into the next. These sounds blend together, forming a symphony of softness. And through it all, the rhythm continues. A rise, a rest, a return. It's as if the sky is playing an instrument without strings, only droplets and air. So tonight, let the rhythm of rain be your guide. Let it move through your room, your thoughts, your breathing. Let it pause, then resume. Let it carry you, not forward, but inward. Because rain, in its gentlest rhythms, does not rush, it rocks. Let it tap on the windows. Let it hum across the roof. Let its rhythm be your rest. Not all rain erodes the earth. Some rain nourishes it, softly, slowly, lovingly. Where downpours might rush across the surface, carving paths and washing soil away, gentle rain does something quieter. It lingers, it seeps, it gives the ground time to receive, not react. Tonight, we'll wander through the way light rain helps life take root. When gentle rain begins to fall, its small droplets settle on the surface without force. They touch leaves, linger on petals, gather on blades of grass. And when they reach the soil, they don't flood it, they enter it, bit by bit. This slow infiltration is called percolation, and it's how water moves downward through the layers of earth, reaching roots hidden below. Soil is a living system. Beneath your feet, there are networks of roots, tunnels made by worms, and microscopic communities, all waiting for moisture. But they can't absorb too much too quickly. If water rushes, it runs off. If it's too heavy, it compacts the soil, making it harder for air and life to move. That's why gentle rain is ideal. It wets the topsoil gradually, softening it before continuing downward. Each droplet carries with it dissolved nutrients, nitrates, minerals, and organic matter from the air and from the earth itself. These nutrients become part of the water's offering, nourishing every layer it touches. For young seedlings, gentle rain is a gift. In springtime, as new shoots emerge and tender leaves unfold, heavy rain can damage their delicate structures. But a soft, sustained drizzle encourages growth. It cools the surface, it bathes the foliage, and it keeps the environment stable, moist enough to thrive, but never overwhelmed. In forests, gentle rain drips slowly from canopy to understory. It passes from leaf to branch, losing speed, sharing moisture with every layer of plant life. In meadows, it dampens the grasses and seeps into the soil below. In gardens, it works quietly, coaxing seeds to stir and roots to deepen. And not just plants, microbial life beneath the soil also awakens with gentle moisture. Bacteria and fungi, vital for decomposition and nutrient cycling, become active as soon as water arrives. Their invisible work supports every root, every stem, every bloom above. Even earthworms respond. When the ground is softly moistened, they rise closer to the surface, tilling the soil as they move. Their tunnels allow for better water flow, better air circulation. It's a quiet ecosystem, activated by each drop. Gentle rain doesn't overwhelm this system, it supports it. It's the difference between a loud visitor and a kind friend. One forces its presence, the other waits to be welcomed. And over time, this soft rain builds something lasting. It strengthens root systems, it deepens soil structure, it brings resilience to the landscape, making it more capable of weathering drier days ahead. So, the next time you see a steady drizzle falling, not rushing, not flooding, know that it's doing quiet work. It's feeding more than the surface. It's reaching into the heart of things. Let it fall into the soil. Let it awaken the roots. Let it whisper life into the ground. Raindrops fall toward the earth, but on their way down, they pick something up. They don't just fall through the air, they fall with it, brushing against invisible things suspended above us. And as they do, they cleanse, they carry, they quiet the sky. Tonight, we'll follow a raindrop as it moves through the atmosphere, not to reach the ground, but to refresh the air itself. The sky is never truly empty. Even on clear days, the air is filled with microscopic particles, dust, pollen, soot, salt, and even tiny microbes. These particles drift high and low, carried by wind, lifted by heat, suspended for days or weeks before finally settling. Some are natural, others remnants of human activity, all part of the ever-moving breath of the planet. And when rain comes, especially gentle, sustained rain, it acts as a filter. As a droplet begins to fall from a cloud, it travels through these layers of air. Along the way, it picks up tiny particles through a process called impaction. The surface of the droplet attracts and absorbs what it touches. Dust clings, pollen sticks, soot dissolves. Raindrops become tiny collectors. By the time they reach the ground, they've gathered more than moisture. They carry pieces of the sky. And when that rain lands, on soil, on leaves, on sidewalks, it delivers not just water, but the cleaned air above. This is why the world often feels so fresh after a gentle rain. It's not just in your imagination. The air really is cleaner. Dust levels drop, allergens decrease. Even airborne bacteria are reduced, washed to the ground by the countless droplets that have swept through the atmosphere. Meteorologists and climate scientists refer to this process as wet deposition, the removal of particles from the air via precipitation. It's one of the most effective ways the planet resets its atmosphere naturally. And while all rain does this to some degree, gentle rain is especially efficient. It falls longer, it covers more surface area, and because it doesn't rush, it interacts with the air more thoroughly. In cities, this can mean a reduction in pollutants. In forests, a settling of spores and pollen. In dry regions, a calming of dust that's been swirling for days. And with this cleansing comes clarity. After a gentle rain, the air often feels sharper, but not in a harsh way. Colors seem more vivid, sounds more distinct. Breathing feels easier. It's as if the sky has taken a deep breath and released all that it was holding. And above all, this process happens quietly. No fanfare, no storm, just thousands of droplets, each playing its part, each helping to carry the old downward, so the air can begin again. So the next time you breathe deeply after a soft shower, know what you're inhaling. Clean air, washed sky, a gift carried by rain, falling softly, and taking the weight of the air with it. Let the raindrops rise in meaning. Let them sweep the sky. Let them fall and feed the air. There are moments when the rain falls, but the world does not move. The air is still. Trees do not sway. Leaves remain quiet on their branches. There's no rustle, no breeze, no whisper of motion, only the soft sound of water descending from the sky. It is a strange and beautiful calm, the kind of silence that doesn't feel empty, but full, with falling rain. Tonight, we'll rest in this rare and peaceful condition, rain without wind. Most of the time, rain is accompanied by air movement. After all, wind and rain share the same sky, born from the same shifts in pressure, temperature, and motion. But sometimes, the balance of the atmosphere creates a kind of pause, a stillness. In meteorology, wind is driven by pressure gradients, the differences between areas of high and low atmospheric pressure. The stronger the contrast, the stronger the wind. But when those differences are minimal, when high and low pressure lie in quiet equilibrium, the wind softens. And if the atmosphere is particularly stable, it can vanish altogether. Yet the clouds still hold moisture. The sky still remembers how to let go. And so, it rains. Not because the wind has brought it, but because gravity has called it. The rain falls straight down, with no sway, no tilt, no curve. It drifts through still air, quiet and deliberate, landing gently on whatever lies beneath. This kind of rain is often associated with stratiform clouds, wide, flat layers like nimbostratus that form in calm, uniform air. There are no updrafts, no bursts of convection, just a stable atmosphere, saturated with moisture, the kind that lets droplets form and fall without urgency or noise. You might notice it when you look outside and see no sign of movement. The trees are perfectly still, the garden undisturbed, and yet the rain continues, a fine, vertical line from cloud to earth. The sound of this windless rain is especially soft. Without gusts or rustling to accompany it, the rain becomes a kind of hush, a solo instrument playing a quiet song. Each drop taps the ground in its own rhythm, and because the air is still, the sound carries, bouncing off rooftops, echoing softly between buildings, filling the space like breath in a sleeping room. There's something deeply comforting about this kind of rain. It doesn't ask anything of you. It doesn't push. It simply falls, gently, vertically, with no distraction. It creates a space where nothing is stirred and everything is soothed. You may feel it more than hear it. You may walk through it and find your umbrella strangely steady. No tug, no lift, just droplets ticking softly against the fabric. Or you may lie in bed and listen to the gentle patter, knowing the world outside is at rest. This is the rain that feels like a whisper from above. It's not rare, but it is fleeting. Winds often return. Movement stirs again. But for a moment, in the quiet balance of pressure and calm, the earth is gifted something precious. Rain without wind. Let it fall. Let the air stay still. Let the quiet become your comfort. When fog settles low and rain begins to fall within it, the world transforms. Edges blur. Light softens. Sound seems to arrive from nowhere and everywhere. The rain doesn't fall far before it's swallowed by the mist. The air becomes thick with water and wonder. Tonight, we'll step into this dreamy overlap between fog and rain, a moment when sky and ground feel made of the same quiet moisture. Fog is a cloud that touches the earth. It forms when the air near the ground cools enough to reach saturation, causing water vapor to condense into countless tiny droplets suspended in the air. These droplets don't fall, they simply float. And when you walk through fog, you are walking through a cloud. Now imagine that. Above this fog, a gentle rain begins to fall. Each raindrop must pass through this suspended softness to reach the ground. As it does, something beautiful happens. The droplets collide with fog particles. The visibility decreases. The air thickens. But everything becomes softer. This is foggy rain, not a weather event so much as a mood. In this hidden world, your senses adjust. Light becomes diffused. A distant street lamp glows like a halo. Trees fade into silhouettes. Buildings lose their edges. People passing by seem to appear and vanish like thoughts. The rain is still falling, but it's different. The sound is muffled. The drops feel closer. And because the fog is so dense, the rain's motion is harder to track. It becomes more of a presence than an event, felt, not seen, like weather experienced in a dream. Meteorologically, foggy rain is most likely to occur during light precipitation events, especially when warm, moist air overlays cooler ground. It's common in the early morning, or just after sunset, when surface cooling encourages fog to form, while gentle clouds above release their steady fall. Sometimes, the fog will thicken as the rain continues. The droplets falling from above help increase humidity near the surface, which encourages more condensation. It becomes a feedback loop of softness. Rain reinforcing fog, fog embracing rain. And in that moment, the line between earth and sky dissolves. You are no longer beneath the clouds. You are inside them. This kind of weather invites reflection. It invites quiet. Walking through foggy rain is like walking through a secret. The world becomes smaller, more personal. You can only see a few feet ahead, and in that small space, you find focus. You breathe slower. You notice more. Raindrops on branches, footsteps on softened ground, the way fog curls around the edges of things and lets them go. And as you move through it, you feel suspended between air and water, sky and soil, seen and unseen. So tonight, if you ever find yourself in foggy rain, don't rush. Don't seek clarity. Let the mystery hold you. Let the mist and the rainfall blur the edges. Let the world become soft and secret once more. Let it fall. Let it drift. Let it carry you inward, into the hidden world within the clouds. Rain feels light. It lands without fanfare. It touches the skin like a sigh. It drips from leaves and rolls down rooftops, seeming more like sound than substance. And yet, when it falls steadily, when it continues hour after hour, the quiet weight it carries begins to reveal itself. Tonight, we'll explore the true weight of gentle rain, how something so soft can carry such abundance. It starts with a single droplet, tiny, nearly weightless. A delicate sphere of water formed high in the clouds, but multiply that one droplet by millions, billions, and the weight begins to build, gently, quietly, persistently. 1 inch of rain falling over a square mile, just 1 inch, equals approximately 1.6 billion gallons of water. That's more than 13 billion pounds. All of it descending slowly, evenly across the landscape. Not in torrents, not in waves, but in a rhythmic, steady fall. The kind of rain that softens soil, nourishes roots, and fills streams. It may not feel heavy on your shoulders, but the land feels it. The trees drink it. The rivers carry it. Meteorologists often measure rain in depth per area, inches or millimeters over a square surface. But behind those numbers is something beautiful, a gentle balancing act between the atmosphere and the earth. The sky holds moisture until conditions are just right, and then it releases it bit by bit. Unlike storms, which may dump rain in short bursts, gentle rainfall stretches its offering over time. It gives the land a chance to absorb, to prepare, to open. The soil doesn't resist, it receives. The forests respond not with splashes, but with a quiet shimmer, each leaf bowed slightly, each stem catching its share. On city streets, water gathers in gutters and glides along curbs, not racing, but meandering, reflecting streetlights and carrying fallen petals along the way. And all the while, the rain continues to fall, soft, measured, dense, not with noise, but with meaning. This is what makes gentle rain powerful in its own way. It's a reminder that weight doesn't require force, that something can carry vastness and still arrive with kindness. The earth depends on this type of rainfall, especially in spring and early summer, when life is beginning again, and the need for water is deep and wide. In agricultural regions, gentle rain is the preferred guest. It doesn't flood fields, it nourishes them. It seeps into the furrows, slips past the roots, and soaks the seeds waiting below. The rain gives without overwhelming. Even in urban areas, light rain helps recharge local groundwater, cleans the air, and cools the pavement, all without disruption. It works quietly in the background, a soft restoration. So the next time you stand in a steady drizzle, or watch the rain from your window as it falls hour after hour, try to imagine the sheer volume of water drifting down, an invisible ocean arriving drop by drop. It is not loud, it is not fast, but it is vast. let it fall gently. Let its weight be a comfort. Let the earth drink deeply from the sky. When rain is near, the sky begins to change, not with lightning or dramatic contrast, but with a softening, a shift in tone. The blue becomes muted. The clouds gather in layers, turning silver, grey, even lavender. The whole sky seems to hush, not darken, but dim, as if lowering its voice. Tonight, we'll drift beneath the colour of a rainy sky and explore how light transforms when filtered through moisture and cloud. Colour in the sky is all about light, how it travels, how it scatters, and how it's filtered by what lies between the sun and your eyes. On a bright, clear day, the blue sky results from sunlight scattering off air molecules. Shorter wavelengths, like blue and violet, scatter more easily. And so, the sky takes on that familiar blue. But when clouds begin to form, the story changes. Clouds are made of water droplets, tiny spheres suspended in the air. These droplets are much larger than individual air molecules, and they scatter all wavelengths of light more evenly. This is why overcast skies appear grey or white rather than blue. The contrast softens. The sky becomes a blanket rather than a canvas. When rain begins to fall, the light continues to shift. The presence of moisture, both in the clouds and in the air itself, adds depth to the grey. Hints of cool blue, soft green, even pale amber may appear, depending on the time of day and the thickness of the clouds. And because rainy skies reflect less direct sunlight, shadows disappear. Everything looks closer, quieter, more diffuse. This diffused light is deeply calming to the human eye. There is no glare, no sharp edges. The world becomes wrapped in a kind of visual softness, what photographers sometimes call flat light. And for many, this creates a sense of comfort, a slower visual rhythm, a permission to rest. Even artificial light behaves differently in rain. Street lamps glow more warmly against a grey backdrop. Their halos widen, especially in mist or drizzle, creating orbs of amber and gold. Car headlights blur. Neon signs flicker softly in puddles. It's as if the world becomes a painting. Colours mixed with water, strokes softened by time. Rainy skies also carry a seasonal palette. In winter, the grey may be deep and moody, with hints of slate and steel. In spring, it turns cooler, like soft silver or fog-washed lavender. In summer, a rainy sky may glow faintly green before a storm, then pale and pearl-like as the drizzle falls. But in every case, the rainy sky brings with it a kind of visual hush. It asks us to look gently, to soften our gaze, to notice the subtle gradients where sunlight meets cloud, to appreciate that beauty doesn't always need brightness. So the next time you see the sky turning grey, don't think of it as gloomy. Think of it as painted, carefully, quietly, with the softest brush. Let the colours of rain fill your view. Let the sky dim kindly. Let the world become a little more peaceful, one shade at a time. Cities sound different when it rains. The usual clamour softens. Honking horns are fewer, footsteps are gentler, even conversations seem quieter, spoken under umbrellas, with voices lowered as if not to disturb the rhythm of the falling rain. Pavement shines with reflection. Lights glow more warmly against damp surfaces. And in that quiet transformation, the city exhales. Tonight, we'll wander through the way gentle rain reshapes urban spaces, turning hard lines and hurried motion into something slower and softer. The architecture doesn't change. The buildings still stand tall, the roads still stretch onward, and the sidewalks still bustle with life. But rain brings a hush to it all. It coats surfaces with a thin film of water, that dampens sound. Brick, stone, and concrete, normally reflective of every sharp noise, become quieter. The acoustics of the city shift. Hard footsteps on the sidewalk now land with a softened tap. The shuffle of tires across wet asphalt becomes a hushed swoosh. Even the air seems to absorb sound more willingly. It's not silence, it's stillness. Raindrops land on rooftops and awnings, adding their own rhythm to the scene, tapping softly, creating a gentle percussion beneath neon lights and fire escapes. In alleys and open plazas, the echoes fade, replaced by a calm that feels almost rural. And then there's the light. Gentle rain creates a reflective cityscape. Streetlights, traffic signals, even passing headlights are mirrored in puddles and wet roads. Surfaces that once absorbed light now shimmer with it. Windows glow softly, blurred by moisture. Brickwork darkens. The entire visual language of the city becomes more cinematic and more contemplative. You may notice how people move differently too. They walk slower, shoulders tucked, hoods drawn. Many pause beneath overhangs or under trees, not to escape the rain entirely, but just to linger a moment longer in its quiet. From above, a city in gentle rain resembles a living canvas, motion slowed, sound softened, light diffused. Meteorologically, this effect is partly due to air cooling and pressure stabilization. The rain helps moderate the urban heat trapped between buildings, washing away warmth and lowering ambient temperature. It clears the air as it falls, scrubbing away dust, pollen, and pollution, leaving behind an atmosphere that smells cleaner, feels fresher. This is why some cities feel more breathable after a light rain. The sharp edges of industrial life are momentarily rounded. The pace slows. Even at night, when most lights stay on and traffic continues, the rain creates an intimacy, an urban quietude not often found in dry weather. Some city dwellers say they sleep better during rain, and it's no wonder. Even surrounded by concrete and glass, the sound of soft rain on a window carries with it the same calming rhythm you'd find in a forest or a field. Rain does not choose where to fall, but in the city, its touch feels almost intentional, an invitation to pause. So next time you find yourself in the heart of a city as drizzle begins to fall, take a moment. Notice the wet sheen on the crosswalk, the muffled echo of footsteps, the golden glow of reflected light on wet asphalt. Let the city soften. Let it hush. Let gentle rain turn the busiest place into a quiet companion. Leaves don't just endure the rain, they welcome it. They lift toward the sky. They reach outward. They hold droplets like treasures. Each species, each shape, each texture responds to rainfall in its own quiet way. Tonight, we'll look closely at how leaves and plants interact with gentle rain, how nature receives each drop, not as a disturbance, but as nourishment. You may have noticed it after a soft shower, a single droplet clinging to the tip of a leaf, another nestled in the curve of a blade of grass. Some drops shimmer like glass pearls, suspended without falling, as if the leaf itself is reluctant to let them go. This is no accident. Plants have evolved to make the most of rainfall, especially the gentle kind. When rain is soft and steady, it gives leaves time to drink. There's no risk of damage, no sudden downpour that tears or bruises delicate petals. Just a slow, rhythmic offering of water from sky to leaf, to stem, to root. Broadleaves, like those of hostas or lotus plants, often act like shallow cups. They collect rain in pools, allowing the water to sit briefly before it rolls down the veins and onto the soil below. In this way, they guide the rain, not only taking what they need, but sharing the rest. Pointed or tapered leaves, like pine needles or grasses, do the opposite. They shed water quickly, directing it toward the roots. Droplets gather, then slide, sometimes forming long lines that drip from tip to ground. This helps prevent excess weight and allows plants to control moisture balance. Velvety leaves, covered in fine hairs, hold onto water for longer. The surface tension of each droplet keeps it perched atop the leaf like a jewel. This water can be absorbed slowly or released when the sun returns. Even the way plants grow affects how rain moves. In dense forests, the canopy captures most of the rainfall first, letting it trickle downward in drips and threads. This creates a natural filtration system, rain softened by layers of green before it touches the earth. In open fields, wildflowers and grasses shimmer equally, collecting droplets across every surface. And then there's the sound. Raindrops on leaves create their own kind of music. Some patter, some tap, others roll and land with a softer thud on the soil. The sound depends on the size of the leaf, its shape, its flexibility, but taken together, it becomes a living rhythm, the voice of the plants, responding to the sky. Gentle rain also brings more than water. It washes dust from leaf surfaces. It clears pores, called stomata, allowing plants to breathe more freely. It cools the surface temperature, relaxes the plant's systems, and helps transport nutrients upward from the roots. Every drop that lands is used with care. There's no waste, no excess, just a quiet exchange between leaf and sky. So the next time you walk through a garden after a soft rain, take a closer look. See how the droplets cling and shimmer. Watch how they move. Imagine how each leaf felt as the rain touched it, not with force, but with grace. Let the rain rest on the leaves. Let the leaves return the kindness. Let this quiet connection remind you that even the smallest drops matter. Look up into a soft grey sky, and what you see may seem simple, just one blanket of cloud, quiet and unbroken. But within that softness lies a quiet architecture, a world layered with motion, temperature, and moisture. A gentle rain doesn't fall from a single height. It descends through a series of unseen levels, each shaping the drops as they fall. Tonight, we'll drift upward and explore the layers of a rainy cloud, how warmth and coolness mingle, how moisture moves, and how invisible processes create the soft rhythms we hear below. Most gentle rain falls from stratiform clouds, those wide horizontal layers that don't tower like thunderheads, but stretch across the sky like quilts. Among these, nimbostratus clouds are the most likely to bring a steady, soft rainfall. But even they are not just one sheet of vapor, they are layered. At the top, warmer air flows, rising gently, lifted by broader atmospheric motion. This air contains moisture, often drawn from the surface below, lakes, oceans, wet soil, even plant life. As it rises, it begins to cool, and here begins the transformation. Condensation forming countless droplets, too small to fall on their own. These tiny droplets gather, bond, and slowly grow. Below, in the cooler layers, the air becomes denser. These lower levels guide the droplets downward. Some begin to fall on their own, creating drizzle, those almost floating specks of moisture that drift more than drop. Others grow larger as they descend, drawing in more vapor until they become steady raindrops, each one shaped by the winds, the temperature, and the air pressure they pass through. This layering can also create misty downpours, especially when the base of the cloud is close to the ground. Here, rain and fog mingle. The droplets are larger, the visibility lower, but the mood remains the same: calm, quiet, deeply atmospheric. The difference between drizzle, steady rain, and misty showers is not dramatic. It's subtle, measured in microns, felt more than seen, and it all depends on the balance within the cloud, the harmony between warm, moist air rising and cool, dense air resting below. If the rise is slow and steady, the rain that forms is equally steady. If temperatures shift just a bit, the form changes from mist to drizzle to soft shower. Meteorologists use tools like radio sondes, weather balloons that rise through the atmosphere, to understand these layers. With each meter of ascent, they record temperature, pressure, and humidity. From this vertical profile, they can trace the conditions that build a cloud and the story behind the rain it brings. But to the listener, to the dreamer curled beneath a blanket or standing under an umbrella, these layers don't need to be measured. They are simply felt, in the rhythm of the falling rain, in the softness of the light, in the way the air smells clean and damp, all at once. The layers are there, shaping everything. So the next time you hear the whisper of rain from above, imagine the path each drop has taken, through invisible corridors of moisture and motion, from warmth to coolness, from sky to earth. Let it fall through the layers. Let it soften as it descends. Let each drop carry the quiet story of the air above. There is a kind of hush that follows rain. It's not silence exactly, but a stillness, a deep breath held by the world. The sky softens, the leaves glisten, puddles ripple gently, untroubled by new drops. And you may notice, the air feels different, cleaner, cooler, calmer. Tonight, we'll rest in this tender moment, the peace after gentle rain. When rain ends, it leaves behind more than wet ground. It resets the atmosphere. Rain acts like a filter, pulling dust, pollen, and even microbes from the air as it falls. Each droplet gathers particles, sweeping them toward the ground. This is called wet deposition, a quiet cleansing performed drop by drop. And when the clouds finally release the last of their moisture, the air above has been transformed. You may feel it when you breathe in, the freshness. That scent we associate with rain, often called petrichor, becomes even clearer once the rainfall stops. It's a blend of damp earth, softened leaves, and air that's been rinsed of clutter. The temperature, too, is often different. Gentle rain cools the surface. On warm days, this shift is noticeable. The ground releases its heat more slowly, and the moist air lingers with a pleasant chill. On cooler days, the effect is more subtle, a layering of comfort, like a blanket laid softly over the landscape. The sounds after rain change as well. Where once you heard tapping, pattering, dripping, now you hear echoes. Distant birds returning to song, the faint roll of car tires on damp streets, the quiet drip from eaves and branches. It's as if the world is listening to itself again, not rushing, just settling. This moment is often fleeting, but deeply grounding. For plants, the pause after rain is a time of absorption. The water that fell now seeps downward, feeding roots, softening soil, and carrying nutrients where they are needed. The leaves, still wet, drink in light. Their surfaces glisten with droplets, each one acting like a tiny lens, magnifying, refracting, catching what sun may return. Even animals respond. Birds flutter from their shelters. Insects stir. Earthworms emerge from the softened soil. Everything moves, but gently, as if aware that the storm has passed and the earth is beginning to stir again, carefully. For us too, the peace after rain offers something unique. A chance to pause, a chance to reflect. The rain has passed, but its rhythm still echoes in your memory. The calm it created remains in your breath, your thoughts, your body. You may step outside and feel the coolness on your skin. You may sit by the window, watching droplets slide slowly down the glass. You may simply close your eyes and listen to the soft drip, the still air, the quiet all around you. This is the reward of gentle rain, not just the fall, but the after, a cleansing, a quiet, a moment of deep, wordless peace. So tonight, let that stillness hold you. Let it settle into your space. Let the world pause with you. After the rain, not all rain sounds the same. Where it lands changes everything. A raindrop on a river sounds different than one on a rooftop. A splash in a pond is not the same as a patter on a garden path. Each surface speaks back to the rain in its own language, offering a unique tone in the symphony of softness that unfolds during gentle showers. Tonight, let's listen, quietly, curiously, to the many voices of rain as it meets water, metal, earth, and more. When rain falls on a river, the sound is fluid, dynamic, ever-changing. The water beneath is already moving, rippling, flowing, curving around rocks and branches. Raindrops add a texture to that motion, not a disruption, but an embellishment. A faint tsk, 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 layered like the soft ticking of a clock made by nature. Each droplet becomes a note, joining the melody of current and eddy. On lakes and ponds, where the water rests more still, the rain sounds more like a whisper. Gentle rings expand across the surface, each drop creating a delicate circle of motion. The sound is more intimate here, closer, smoother, like fingers drumming lightly on glass. When you listen closely, you may even hear the faintest hiss, as if the lake is sighing beneath the weightless fall. And then there's rain on rooftops. Whether slate, tile, shingle, or sheet metal, the surface matters. A metal roof sings with clarity. Ping, ping, ping. The droplets becoming a percussive rhythm that plays overhead. On slate or ceramic, the sound is deeper, more muted, like distant footsteps. On wooden shingles, it's a padded patter. Rooftop rain is cozy. It reminds us that we're sheltered, held safely inside, while the sky carries on above. On the earth, the sound is almost absorbed. Raindrops on soil, on leaves, on mossy ground, these sounds are softer still. They barely register as noise, more like texture in the background. A living hush. Rain on grass sounds like breath. Rain on sand sounds like memory. Each of these surfaces reflects the same weather, but in a different voice. Together, they create an acoustic landscape, a dreamy layering of soft percussion, all in harmony. Rain doesn't fall randomly. It lands with rhythm, shaped by shape. It's a quiet orchestra, playing for no audience but the earth itself. And for those of us who choose to listen, some find these sounds so soothing, they record them, loop them, play them during sleep or meditation. Rain on rooftops, rain on lakes, rain on forest floors. Each one offers a slightly different comfort. Even in a city, you'll notice variety. Rain on window glass makes a different sound than rain on brick. Rain falling on cars, street signs, and bus shelters adds its own gentle metallic notes. A puddle on the pavement becomes a drum when drops hit just right. And all of it, layered, blended, beautifully unhurried, becomes the lullaby of a rainy day. So, the next time gentle rain begins to fall, pause. Listen to where it lands. Is it the deep tap of rooftop rhythm, the soft splash of lake water, the disappearing hush of soil. Whatever you hear, let it be part of the quiet music that brings rest. Let each sound carry you deeper into comfort. Let rain fall, and the world sing back. Water moves through the world in a circle, an ancient, endless rhythm that touches everything, from oceans to clouds, from sky to soil, from rivers to air and back again. It's called the water cycle, and every gentle drop of rain is part of this quiet journey. Tonight, we'll follow the path of water as it moves through Earth's systems, not in surges or storms, but in soft steps. And we'll see how gentle rain, with all its calmness, plays a powerful part. It begins with evaporation. Warmth from the sun lifts water from oceans, lakes, and even the leaves of trees. This vapor rises into the sky, invisible, weightless. Higher still, it begins to cool. In cooler air, the vapor condenses into droplets. Clouds form, sometimes towering and wild, but often low and layered, full of potential and patience. When conditions are just right, the droplets inside these clouds grow heavy enough to fall, and so the precipitation begins. Not in a rush, not in a roar, but as a steady offering, a gentle rain. This is where our story settles, because when rain falls softly, it changes how water re-enters the earth. Heavy rain can run off quickly, flowing over the land, often before the soil has a chance to absorb it. But gentle rain, it lingers. It rests on leaves, puddles on petals, seeps into the ground one drop at a time. The earth opens to it. This is how aquifers are replenished. Beneath our feet, vast layers of porous rock and soil store water like underground reservoirs. They don't fill instantly. They need slow, steady rain, moisture that percolates through layers of soil, filtering as it goes. Gentle rain, sustained over time, is ideal for this. It also hydrates the surface, moistening the upper soil where seeds germinate, where roots surge, where insects stir. The plants drink it in slowly, using just what they need. What remains either evaporates again, or continues downward, into deeper places, where it becomes part of the cycle once more. Even the air responds. After a gentle rain, evaporation resumes, lifted by warmth and light. The water returns skyward, carrying with it the scent of earth, the memory of moss, the cool breath of forest and field. And once again, it joins the invisible dance of clouds and sky. This cycle has no beginning and no end, but it does have moments, soft chapters, where the water moves quietly, kindly. Gentle rain is one of those moments. A pause in the storm, a replenishment without harm, a kindness in motion. So, as you listen to the patter outside your window, or feel a light drizzle on your skin, know that what you're witnessing is more than weather. It is part of the Earth's slow, essential rhythm, a cycle older than memory, a sky returning water to soil, to seed, to life. Let it fall, let it nourish, let the cycle continue, softly. A raindrop may look like simple water, but it's not just H2O. It is a tiny sphere filled with the memory of sky. Each drop carries with it a blend of gases, trace minerals, and microscopic particles gathered on its descent. It may appear clear, but within its round surface is a record of its journey, a soft chemical signature shaped by atmosphere and air. Tonight, we'll take a closer look at the chemistry of a raindrop, and how gentle rain becomes a quiet vessel for Earth's natural elements. It begins with condensation. As water vapor cools and forms droplets in a cloud, it needs something to cling to. That something is usually a tiny aerosol, a microscopic speck of dust, salt, soot, pollen, or even a microorganism. These particles are called cloud condensation nuclei, and they are what allow vapor to become visible water. So, from the very beginning, a raindrop is not just water. It forms around something solid, something carried by the wind, something that gives shape to the invisible. As the droplet grows and eventually falls, it moves through the layers of air, each filled with different gases and particulates. Along the way, the drop absorbs a variety of dissolved gases from the atmosphere, most notably carbon dioxide. When CO2 mixes with water, it creates a very mild carbonic acid, which gives rain its naturally slightly acidic pH, typically around 5.5. This gentle acidity is not harmful in natural amounts. In fact, it helps break down nutrients in the soil, making them easier for plants to absorb. Rain becomes a subtle, natural fertilizer. Raindrops may also carry oxygen, nitrogen, and even ozone, especially during or after lightning storms. Trace amounts of these gases enrich the soil and support the microbial life within it. Each drop is like a courier, delivering what the earth needs, bit by bit. In coastal regions, rain often contains tiny amounts of sea salt, evaporated from the ocean, lofted into the air, and carried by wind into clouds. These salt particles help form raindrops, and later nourish inland ecosystems when they fall. Rain can even gather microscopic pieces of organic matter from decaying leaves, distant wildfires, or airborne soil. These particles don't always alter the rain's clarity, but they do contribute to its chemical fingerprint. And then there are the pollutants. In industrial areas, raindrops may pick up sulfur dioxide or nitrogen oxides, which can lead to more acidic precipitation, sometimes referred to as acid rain. But when rain is gentle and falls over cleaner air, it serves another purpose: cleansing. Raindrops pull pollutants from the sky and return them to the ground, helping reset the atmosphere. In this way, even the chemistry of a drop plays a quiet part in restoring balance. And always, inside every drop, is the signature of the sky. Meteorologists and chemists can analyze rainwater and learn where the air has been. They can trace dust back to deserts, salt to oceans, soot to distant fires. A single drop may carry clues from thousands of miles away. But to us, the chemistry remains quiet. It falls gently on the skin. It gathers on leaves. It soaks into the soil. Each raindrop is a whisper, not just of water, but of everything it touched on the way down. So the next time you feel rain on your face, remember, it's not just a drop. It's a traveler, a messenger, a memory of the sky. Let it fall. Let it nourish. Let it speak softly in elements. When we think of soaking, we often imagine something immediate, a sudden spill, a drenching downpour. But nature doesn't always move that way. Water, when given time, prefers to enter the earth slowly, gently, thoughtfully. Tonight, we'll explore infiltration, the quiet process through which rain seeps into the soil. And we'll see why gentle rain is perfectly suited for this deep, unhurried absorption. It begins at the surface. As raindrops land, they rest briefly before being drawn downward by gravity. But not all soil accepts water the same way. Dry soil can resist at first, repelling moisture like wax. Compact soil may slow the entry. Sandy soil absorbs quickly, but drains just as fast. And rich, loamy soil welcomes water with open pores, guiding it downward like a sponge. Gentle rain allows this process to happen with care. Unlike heavy rain, which can overwhelm the surface, leading to runoff and erosion, light rain gives the earth time to open. It sits on the soil for just a moment longer. It finds the cracks, the channels, the invisible pathways between grains of dirt, and slowly, drop by drop, it moves downward. This movement is called percolation. As water infiltrates the soil, it passes through layers, topsoil, subsoil, bedrock. Along the way, it nourishes roots, recharges aquifers, and supports the microbial life that makes soil fertile. The slowness of gentle rain ensures that more water reaches these deeper systems, rather than running off into ditches or drains. Plants depend on this process. Their roots can only take in water when the surrounding soil holds it, balanced between too dry and too saturated. Gentle rain maintains that balance. It doesn't shock the system, it feeds it steadily. The root hairs absorb moisture gradually, in harmony with the plant's pace of growth. You may see the signs after a soft rain. Leaves appear perkier. Soil is darkened but not muddy. The air smells of minerals and earth. Even underground, water continues its quiet journey, filling spaces between soil particles, creating a reservoir of moisture that will sustain life for days or weeks ahead. And not all the water remains near the surface. Some of it continues deep into the ground, joining ancient stores of water called groundwater. These hidden aquifers move slowly, sometimes over centuries, beneath our feet. They are vital for springs, wells, and rivers, and they depend on infiltration to be replenished. It is a cycle measured not in minutes, but in time. And it all begins with gentle rain, the kind of rain that doesn't hurry, the kind that listens to the soil and enters only when invited. So the next time you watch a soft rain fall across a field or garden, remember, beneath the surface, something quiet is happening. The earth is drinking, not all at once, but slowly, patiently, deeply. Let it soak, let it sink. Let the slowness of saturation remind you that even the smallest drops can nourish the deepest roots. In the quiet heart of an old-growth forest, rain behaves differently. It doesn't pour, it doesn't rush, it moves downward like breath, filtered through generations of green. In these ancient woods, a raindrop's journey is long and layered, touching every life form it meets, from the tallest canopy to the softest moss underfoot. Tonight, we'll wander through the dreamy descent of soft rain in ancient forests, where each drop travels not in haste, but in reverence. High above the forest floor, massive trees stretch skyward. Their branches form a ceiling of leaves, a canopy woven from centuries of growth. When rain begins to fall here, it doesn't reach the ground right away. Instead, it lands first on the uppermost leaves, resting briefly before moving on. Some drops bounce, others cling. All are caught in a tangle of light and green. This slow descent is called canopy interception. Rainwater is absorbed and redirected by leaves, twigs, and bark. Only after these surfaces are saturated does the water continue downward, slipping along branches, trickling down trunks, or dripping from leaf to leaf in a quiet chain of touch. Every layer of the forest plays a part. Epiphytes, plants that grow on the surfaces of trees, catch droplets in their roots. Ferns fan out beneath fallen logs, their fronds gleaming. Lichen softens bark with a sponge-like texture, holding moisture long after the rain has paused. Even spiderwebs glisten, capturing the smallest drops like strings of glass. And beneath it all, the forest floor waits patiently. By the time the rain reaches the ground, it has slowed to a whisper. The soil here is dark and rich, built from centuries of fallen leaves and decaying wood. Moss carpets the roots. Fungi bloom quietly in shaded corners. This lower world receives the rain with open arms. No splashing, no noise. just absorption, just nourishment. Meteorologically, this environment favours stratiform precipitation, gentle, long-lasting rain from low-hanging clouds. The kind of rain that doesn't stir the air, but settles it. Temperature and humidity remain stable. Wind is filtered out by the density of trees, and the rain falls, like a secret being passed from one generation of leaves to the next. In this forested world, time moves differently. A single raindrop might take several minutes to reach the ground. It might stop in the cupped petal of a wildflower. It might slide down a curled fern. It might shimmer for hours on a mossy stone. Every moment of its journey is part of the forest's rhythm. And after the rain, the woods breathe differently. The air is thicker. The scent is rich. Earth, bark, leaf, and time. Steam rises slowly from the undergrowth. Birds call again. Drips continue to fall from the canopy long after the sky has cleared. It's a system that's as much about patience as it is about water. So, if you ever find yourself in a quiet forest during a soft rain, pause. Listen to the leaves catch water. Watch droplets gather and fall in their own time. And know that, in this place, rain doesn't fall from the sky. It flows through a living world. Let it touch each branch. Let it feed each root. Let the forest remember it, one drop at a time. When the rain comes gently, it leaves mirrors in its wake. Puddles shimmer on sidewalks. Windows hold droplets that refract light. Roads darken and shine. And everywhere, the world appears, doubled and dreamlike, reflected in soft water. Tonight, we'll explore rain and reflection, how gentle rainfall turns the ordinary into the poetic, giving us moments to pause and look again. Raindrops begin the transformation. As they land, they flatten into thin films or ripple across smooth surfaces. On glass, they gather and streak, tiny lenses that bend and stretch the light. On stone or metal, they collect in pools, each one a small canvas for the sky above. Street lamps glow twice. Trees lean inward from their mirrored selves. Even the clouds can be seen resting inside the puddles they created. This is not just science, it's stillness. But meteorologically, these reflections are made possible by the low wind and low impact nature of gentle rain. Because there's no turbulent downpour, puddles can form undisturbed. The water remains smooth, surfaces stay calm, and in that calm, light finds clarity. Raindrops also create diffuse reflection, soft scatterings of light, rather than sharp angles. That's why reflections in rain don't feel like glass or mirror. They feel softer, more painterly, like memories instead of photographs. And perhaps that's why they stir something in us. You may have stood at a window during rain, watching droplets slide slowly down the pane. Behind them, the world outside moves, but just a little. Leaves sway, cars pass, and in the spaces between droplets, you see both the outside world and your own reflection, faint and fleeting. It's a moment of quiet self-awareness, not dramatic, not deep, just a soft reminder. You are here, in this moment, looking outward and inward. Puddles on pavement create similar effects. Children sometimes step around them, others jump in. But if you pause and look down, you'll see the sky, upside down and still. Power lines stretch across water like ink lines. A passing cloud glides silently across the asphalt. The world is below you and above you, all at once. In this mirrored landscape, the rain slows our vision. It encourages contemplation. The physics are simple. Light bouncing off smooth surfaces, low angle diffusion, softened edges. But the feeling it brings is something more. It's the kind of beauty that asks nothing of us other than to notice. After the rain, these reflections often linger. As the sky clears, the puddles remain, fading slowly under footfalls and sunlight. The shimmer fades, the water drains, but for a while, everything still feels a little more magical, as if we were walking through both the real world and its dream. So the next time rain falls and leaves behind its mirrors, take a moment to see. Look through the window, gaze into the puddle, let the reflected sky remind you of the one above and the stillness within. Let gentle rain reflect the world twice, and let those quiet images carry you into rest. Rain may seem random when it falls softly from the sky. A passing shower here, a drizzle there, an overnight patter that feels like chance. But if you were to look from above, from the wide view of maps and measurements, you'd see that even the gentlest rain has a pattern, a quiet elegance, a rhythm written across the land. Tonight, we'll trace that invisible choreography, the graceful patterns of gentle rainfall, and the tools meteorologists use to understand them. When we speak of rainfall patterns, we're referring not just to where it rains, but how often, how much, and in what shape. Over days, weeks, seasons, even years. Some places receive frequent soft rains, coastal regions kissed by moist ocean air, where low-pressure systems drift in with regularity. Others experience gentle rain only during a narrow window in spring or fall. These patterns are shaped by geography, ocean currents, jet streams, and the invisible architecture of the atmosphere. To uncover these rhythms, meteorologists turn to rain gauges. These simple tools, cylinders placed quietly on rooftops, fields, and forest clearings, catch each drop and hold it. Over time, they build a record. 1 inch here, a ½ inch there. Some days, nothing at all. And some days, a slow, steady climb, millimeter by millimeter, as the rain continues through the night. But the story doesn't stop at a single point. Networks of gauges across regions allow us to build rainfall maps, colourful visualizations showing how moisture drapes itself across the land. Shades of blue and green ripple across the terrain, each one representing depth, duration, and softness. These maps reveal what the eye cannot. Bands of rain shaped by mountains, shielded valleys, and the turn of seasonal winds. Satellite data adds another layer. From space, gentle rain may look like a pale veil sweeping across continents. Satellites can detect cloud types, measure moisture content, and trace the flow of weather systems. When overlaid with surface observations, a full picture emerges, one of delicate motion and subtle influence. Meteorologists also study isohyetes, lines drawn on maps connecting areas that receive equal rainfall. Much like contour lines on a topographic map, these curves whisper of consistency, of shared experience across distant places. A quiet echo of the same soft sky. Then, there are climatological patterns, the broader rhythms of rainfall across years. El Niño and La Niña affect global circulation and moisture delivery. Some years are wetter, others are drier, but gentle rain is part of that dance too. It arrives in slow waves, often unnoticed in the noise of larger storms, but just as vital. Patterns can also be temporal. Diurnal cycles, when light afternoon showers visit tropical regions. Seasonal transitions, when warm fronts gently nudge cooler air aside. Or even nocturnal rhythms, when nighttime cooling allows soft rain to form in peace. There's a comfort in this structure, a knowledge that even the quietest rains follow paths, that the sky is not random but layered with meaning. And so, the next time you hear rain on your window, know that it belongs to something bigger, a pattern stretching across valleys, coasts, and seasons, a soft logic in the clouds. Let that thought lull you to sleep. Each drop is not alone. It is part of a story, a map, a melody, written softly across the world. There's something about rain that makes us sleepy. Not a storm, not a downpour, but a gentle rain, soft, steady, rhythmic. It quiets the world, calms the mind, and for many, invites the deepest, most peaceful sleep. Tonight, we'll explore why gentle rain has this effect, not just emotionally, but biologically, physically, even atmospherically. Let's begin with the sound. Gentle rain creates non-repetitive white noise, a natural soundscape made up of countless tiny impacts. Drops on rooftops, leaves, sidewalks, water, tapping in a way that soothes without startling. Our brains respond well to this kind of auditory texture. It masks sudden noises and creates a kind of cocoon, safe, predictable, soft. But the rain doesn't just sound calming, it lowers the air pressure around us. During a rainstorm, especially one driven by a low pressure system, the barometric pressure gently decreases. This slight drop can reduce the activity of our sympathetic nervous system, the part of us that stays alert and ready. In response, the parasympathetic system, our rest and digest mode, becomes more dominant. Breathing slows, muscles release, the body leans toward rest. Rain also brings cooler temperatures. As the droplets fall, they absorb heat from the air. Surfaces cool, the breeze turns mild. Lower temperatures are ideal for sleep. Our core body temperature naturally drops when we prepare for bed, and the cool environment of a rainy night supports that transition. It tells the body it's time to slow down. There's also a biochemical response. When skies darken, even during daytime rain, the reduction in sunlight leads to a subtle increase in melatonin, the hormone responsible for sleepiness. The overcast sky acts like a dimmer switch, easing us into a slower, gentler rhythm. Psychologically, rain creates a sense of shelter. We are dry. The world outside is softened. Motion slows. People drive more carefully. Animals retreat. The environment quiets. And in that hush, our minds are freed from the usual stimuli. It's a sensory downshift, external and internal. Add to that the emotional associations. Rain reminds many of childhood naps under blankets, of soft mornings with no urgency, of books by windows, tea in hand, and warm lights in a dim room. These memories are deeply encoded, tied to comfort, protection, and ease. When the rain returns, those feelings return too. There's even a phenomenon called rain sleep induction, used in therapy and sound design. Soft rainfall recordings are played to help people with insomnia, and not just because they mimic noise, but because they evoke the natural environment our brains associate with safety. We evolved under shelter, listening to rain. It signaled that we were not moving, not hunting, not threatened, just resting. And so, tonight, as the gentle rain falls, if it does, you might notice your breathing deepen. You might feel your eyelids grow heavy. You might feel the world slowing, wrapping you in soft white sound and cool, sleepy air. It's not your imagination. Rain really does help us sleep, and you are meant to follow it. Let the patter soothe you. Let the sky lower its voice, and rest. Even the quietest rain knows how to dance. It doesn't always fall in straight lines. Sometimes it sways, it arcs, it turns with the air, caught in a soft duet between sky and breeze. Tonight, we'll explore this delicate ballet, the way wind and gentle rain move together in silence and in softness. When rain begins, we often imagine it as a simple descent, droplets forming high in the clouds and falling neatly to the earth below. But the air is rarely still. Even on the calmest days, currents move invisibly around trees, buildings, and hillsides. The moment a droplet leaves its cloud, it begins a winding journey through those currents. Picture it. A raindrop begins to fall, not heavy, not fast, just a glistening bead of water drifting downward. But the air it enters is moving, perhaps just slightly, perhaps in swirling whirls that only the droplet can feel. Wind changes everything. A breeze might guide the drop sideways, brushing it past a branch instead of toward the soil. A gentle gust might lift it, momentarily suspending it in place, letting it hover before continuing on. In courtyards and alleyways, wind eddies form, a kind of circular motion that gently gathers rain and spins it in place, like dancers turning slowly in a round room. This interaction is governed by simple physics, but it feels like poetry. Raindrops, especially the small ones that fall in soft rain, are light enough to be moved by air. They don't just fall, they drift. The lighter the drop, the more responsive it is to the wind's quiet pull. And so, even the faintest air movement becomes part of the rainfall's choreography. Have you ever seen rain blowing sideways? That's the wind's influence at the surface, changing the angle of the fall. Trees may seem to lean under it, as if bowing to the performance. Or perhaps you've noticed the way rain wraps around a corner of a building, falling one way on one side and another way on the other. That too is the wind, shaping the path. Raindrops and wind can also create beautiful illusions. From inside a warm room, looking out a window, the rain may appear to move in waves or sheets, as the wind causes bands of droplets to group together, then part again. Street lamps reveal these motions, casting golden silhouettes of falling water, swaying as if alive. And though this dance is ever-changing, it remains soothing. There is no urgency here, no push or shove, just guidance, just flow. Meteorologists can study this interaction by observing wind shear, changes in wind speed or direction with height. In heavier storms, shear may be intense. But in gentle rain, it's more like a slow shift, a soft current that nudges the rain into graceful arcs and slow spirals. And so, when you next listen to rain on a breezy night, picture it dancing, not forced, not chaotic, but moving together with the wind, two elements of nature, in partnership, falling and swirling, wrapping around branches, tumbling down eaves, a sky ballet, soft and slow. And you, dear listener, are already part of it. Let the dance continue as you drift into sleep. When we think of tropical rain, we often picture powerful downpours, sudden and intense, thunderstorms that sweep through with warmth and force. But not all tropical rain is bold. Some of it arrives with a hush, a steady softness, a gentle rhythm that nourishes the land and sings quietly through the night. Tonight, we'll wander through the tropics, not in storms, but in softness, exploring how gentle rain plays its part in the lushest places on Earth. In the tropical regions, where warmth lingers year-round, the atmosphere holds abundant moisture. The oceans below evaporate easily under the sun's gaze, and the air becomes rich with invisible water vapor. When that vapor rises and cools, clouds form, often daily, often gently. And from these clouds, rain falls, not in torrents, but in soft curtains, drifting down through warm air, falling on palm leaves, banana fronds, and the thick canopies of jungle trees. The sound it makes is unlike any other, a musical hush, constant, comforting, never hurried. In the early morning hours, this rain can appear like a fine mist, a tropical drizzle that touches every leaf. By midday, the sun may warm the land again, lifting the moisture back into the sky, only for it to return in the late afternoon, softly renewed. This cycle, evaporation, condensation, gentle rainfall, is a daily rhythm in some equatorial regions, a breath the rainforest takes in and out. The land becomes lush, not from violent weather, but from quiet consistency. Gentle rain falling day after day, drop by drop, building forests that seem to hum with life. You can feel it in the air, warm, heavy, calm. The scent of rain in the tropics is rich with life, earthy, floral, sweetened by the oils of leaves and blossoms. The kind of scent that fills the senses and makes everything feel slow and suspended. Gentle tropical rain also plays a key role in regulating temperature. Even at night, in warm climates, a steady shower cools the air slightly, just enough to invite sleep beneath an open window or under a sheltering canopy. The world becomes a lullaby of distant droplets and chirping frogs, of swaying trees and dripping eaves. In island regions, where land meets sea in intimate embrace, the rain may fall over the ocean and drift inland, carried by sea breezes. These coastal showers arrive quietly, like whispers on the wind, nurturing crops, gardens, and dreams. In mountainous tropics, where the air rises against green slopes, clouds bloom like slow flowers, and soft rain falls through valleys, uninterrupted and unannounced. Everywhere, the rain touches something: leaf, stone, roof, skin, and everywhere it is welcomed. There is no rush here, no urgency, just warmth, moisture, and motion. So tonight, imagine yourself beneath that gentle rain, somewhere lush, somewhere warm, where the world is green and slow, and the air smells of soil and blossom. Let the sounds of soft tropical rain lull you to stillness. Sleep here, in this softness, and let the warm rain continue to fall. Some moments live inside us, quiet and unspoken, until something gentle brings them back. A certain scent, a certain sound, the soft hush of rain falling outside a window. Rain has a way of unlocking memory, not through urgency, but through feeling, through atmosphere, through echoes. Tonight, we'll explore how gentle rain stirs the still waters of memory, how its sound, its scent, its very presence can connect us to forgotten moments, calm emotions, and a deep sense of peace. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a rainy afternoon from your childhood. Perhaps you were tucked under blankets. Perhaps you watched droplets gather on the glass. Maybe you remember the scent of warm earth as the first drops began to fall, or the way your thoughts drifted slowly, like leaves in a puddle. Rain imprints on the senses. There's a word for the earthy scent that rises when rain touches dry soil: petrichor. It carries with it geosmin, a compound released by soil-dwelling microbes. That smell is one of the most nostalgic scents known to us. It's often associated with comfort, with coming indoors, with warm light and calmness. And then there's the sound. The patter of raindrops is a form of natural white noise. Steady, gentle, predictable. It masks the suddenness of other sounds and creates a sonic shelter. When we were children, rain might have meant time to rest, or a pause in a busy day, or simply the cozy awareness that we were safe inside. For many, the sound of soft rain recalls bedtime stories, quiet conversations, or afternoons spent watching the sky change. The rain became a backdrop to stillness, and over time, those emotional pairings, rain and peace, rain and safety, rain and introspection, become permanent. In fact, psychologists have found that rain can trigger autobiographical memory. The way a particular shower falls against a roof might remind someone of their childhood home. The scent of rain-soaked pavement might evoke a long-ago walk through the city. The sound of drizzle against leaves might summon a memory of lying beneath trees, somewhere long since visited. Rain becomes a carrier of memory, not loud or insistent, but gentle, like a letter arriving from the past, already opened. This emotional response is called mood-congruent memory. When we're calm, we more easily recall memories associated with calmness. Rain, being a naturally soothing experience, encourages the return of similar moments. But these memories don't have to be clear or specific. Sometimes they arrive more like a feeling, a softness in the heart, a sigh that seems to come from somewhere deeper than thought. And even for those without a particular memory attached to the rain, the experience itself builds new ones. Tonight, this very moment of listening, resting, breathing slowly in the dark while imagining the rhythm of rainfall, this too becomes a memory in the making, one of quiet, of gentleness, of presence. Rain connects us to the earth, to ourselves, and to the quieter times we carry inside. So let the rain fall gently now, not just on rooftops and windows, but through the corridors of memory. Let it stir what is kind and restful. Let it guide you home, wherever that may be. And as the drops continue to fall, allow your mind to wander, softly, sleepily, through the rain. It's rare, but sometimes the rain falls by moonlight, a quiet enchantment, almost like a dream within a dream. Tonight, we'll drift into that rare and delicate space when soft rain meets soft light, and the sky becomes a silver lullaby. Moonlit rain is one of nature's most subtle gifts. It requires a gentle shower, a sky only partially veiled by cloud, and a moon bright enough to find its way through mist and moisture. When these elements align, the world below is transformed into something almost otherworldly. Imagine it. You're standing by a window late at night. The sky is overcast, but not completely. There are breaks, wisps of cloud that reveal the pale round moon, casting its light across the rain-slick streets. Raindrops fall in silver streaks, puddles shimmer. Every rooftop glows with a faint, diffused light. There's no thunder, no wind, just the sound of falling water and the quiet pull of the moon above. In this gentle atmosphere, even the air feels suspended, cooler than the day, but not cold, still, the kind of air that wraps around you like a blanket, rather than brushing past like a breeze. Moonlight behaves differently than sunlight. It doesn't cast sharp shadows. It doesn't warm, it glows, softly, dimly, just enough to outline the edges of things, to give leaves a silver trim, to make the raindrops on your windowsill catch the light, like tiny stars. And when that light touches rain, it bends. Each droplet becomes a miniature lens, a curved mirror of moon and cloud. Sometimes, in the perfect conditions, a moonbow may form, a pale rainbow that arches across the night sky. Not bright, not colourful, but faint, white, like a memory etched in mist. But even without a moonbow, the scene is enough. Raindrops dancing in silver, the earth glistening under a quiet sky. Street lamps may flicker in the distance, but they're secondary. The moonlight is the main character here, softening everything it touches. And beneath that sky, everything slows down. The animals grow quiet. The leaves hang heavy with dew. Even thoughts begin to hush. Moonlit rain is not about seeing clearly. It's about feeling held by the world, feeling watched over, the moon above, the rain around, and you in the middle. Still, safe and soothed. It's the kind of moment that makes you stop and breathe, the kind that gently blurs the boundary between night and dream. So tonight, let's imagine the rain falling beneath the moon. Let's picture the silver threads descending slowly, tracing lines through the dark. Let's hear the patter on rooftops, the soft echo on stone, the whisper of leaves catching each drop. Let your thoughts drift upward, through clouds, toward the light. And as the moon shines down on gentle rain, let sleep find you in that hush, silver sky, soft water, and silence. Rain rarely ends in a hurry. It doesn't crash to a halt or vanish in an instant. More often, it fades, slowly, softly, until only silence remains. Tonight, let's linger in that transition, the moment when a shower gently dissolves, when the sky begins to clear, not with fanfare, but with a whisper. Imagine the scene. Rain has been falling for hours, a gentle, steady rhythm. You've grown used to its presence, the patter on the roof, the droplets on the glass, the softness it brought to every sound. And then you begin to notice the change. The drops are quieter now, lighter, fewer. A once steady drizzle becomes an occasional tap, then a pause, then another. The clouds above are lifting slightly. No longer the uniform grey of midday rain, they start to show depth. Layers of lighter tones, subtle movement, hints of clearing. The world below responds in kind. Leaves no longer tremble under the weight of falling water. Now they hold droplets like pearls, glistening in the muted light. The ground, once pocked with ripples, begins to still. Puddles reflect more sky than splashes. This is the slow dissolving of a rain shower. Meteorologically, this fading happens when the lifting air that once formed clouds begins to slow. The updrafts weaken. The moisture in the clouds begins to run out. Droplets grow smaller. The lower atmosphere stabilizes. Without the energy to sustain condensation, the clouds thin and the rain eases, drop by drop. The final moments are often the most poetic. A lone drop falls from the tip of a one branch. A tiny rivulet makes its last journey down a window pane. A soft mist lingers for a moment, then vanishes. There is a hush in the air during this time, a kind of stillness that follows release. Not empty, but full of calm. The earth seems to take a breath. Birds begin to stir again. A single breeze might return, lifting the scent of wet soil, of clean air, of petrichor. It's easy to miss the exact moment the rain stops. Because it doesn't really stop, it dissolves. Like a melody playing its final notes so slowly, you don't notice the silence until it's already arrived. For those resting, it's the perfect cue. The sound that lulled you to sleep is no longer needed. The quiet is its own lullaby now. Just as rain began with softness, it ends in the same way, tender, gradual, unhurried. And so, in these moments, let your thoughts settle as the drops do. Let the hush take hold. Let the last mist rise and disappear. And know that even as the rain fades, its presence lingers. In the soil, in the leaves, in the softened world it leaves behind. This is not an ending. It is a return to stillness, a peaceful dissolving. We often think of power as something loud, dramatic, or forceful. But tonight, we end with a softer truth. Gentle rain, quiet and unassuming, is enough. No thunder, no wind, no spectacle. Just motion, repetition, patience. A kind of presence that never demands attention, but offers everything. Think of how a light rain nourishes the earth. Its droplets are small, but together they soak the soil, fill the roots, lift the scent of life into the air. They feed forests, they refresh city streets, they cool overheated afternoons. And they do so without ever raising their voice. In meteorology, we measure rainfall by intensity, but we also measure it by impact. And soft, steady showers often provide the most sustainable form of precipitation. They prevent runoff, they allow absorption, they work slowly, deeply, invisibly. They teach us that force is not the only way to make change. Nature seems to understand this balance. Gentle rain tends to accompany warm fronts, slow-moving boundaries, where warm air glides above cooler air. This interaction favors layered clouds and extended rainfall. Not sudden, not violent, just persistent. The kind that waters fields over hours. The kind that invites people to pause, reflect, rest. The kind that lingers in the memory. When we look back, it's often the quietest rains we remember with the most affection. The sound of it on a tin roof, the sight of it slipping down a window, the scent it leaves behind. These moments stay with us, not because they overwhelmed us, but because they soothed us. And that is enough. In a world that often celebrates storms and spectacles, gentle rain reminds us of another way to be. To move without hurry, to shape without strain, to exist with purpose, but without noise. Tonight, as we close our soft exploration of gentle rain, I hope you carry that feeling with you. That softness can be strength. That gentleness can be enduring. That something as quiet as a drizzle can feed forests, calm cities, and help someone fall asleep. You don't need to make waves to matter. You don't need to thunder to be heard. Like the rain, you can be soft and still enough. And as our gentle journey through the world of soft rain comes to a close, I hope you found comfort in its rhythm, peace in its patterns, and rest in its falling hush. Tonight, we've wandered through quiet clouds, followed the slow descent of raindrops, and listened closely to the music of moisture meeting earth. We've drifted through mist, into moonlight, across rooftops and leaves, guided only by softness. Gentle rain asks for nothing, yet gives so much. It soothes, nourishes, and reminds us that even the lightest presence can leave a lasting trace. May the rain tonight, whether real or imagined, wrap around you like a blanket of calm. May its rhythm ease your breath, its scent soften your thoughts, and its quiet touch carry you into rest. If you'd like to return for more bedtime weather journeys, you're always welcome here. Feel free to like or subscribe, but only if it feels light and unhurried. For now, you can rest. Let your breath fall softly like rain. Snuggle in, feel safe, feel sheltered. Good night. Peaceful dreams, calm skies to you.